I now call to order the regular meeting of the Indianapolis Public Library Board of Trustees. Ms. Gilbert, please call the roll.
Yes. Do we have Mr. Biederman on Zoom?
He's not here.
All right, thank you. Dr. Palacio?
I'm here.
And Dr. Payne?
Here.
Dr. Riolo?
Present.
Dr. White?
Here.
And Ms. Tribble?
Here,
We do have a quorum.
the chair recognizes a quorum. Welcome to the November meeting of the Indianapolis Board of Trustees.
We're in the meeting.
Oh, it is December. I have to, my script says November. I'm sorry. Welcome to the December meeting of the Indianapolis Board of Public Library Board of Trustees. My name is Hope Tribble, and I am the president of the board. Tonight, our host is the 38th Street branch, and I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to Bambi P., branch manager, and the entire 38th Street team for their dedication and the invaluable services that they provide to our community. As we'll hear more about later, the East 38th branch has formed strong connections within the East Side community, going above and beyond to meet the needs of its neighbors. One example is the community pantry established by the branch to address the ongoing food crisis. This service is sustained through generous donations from community members who contribute food or funds to help keep the pantry stocked. Additionally, the branch partners with nearby New Direction Church in various ways, including sharing overflow parking on Sunday mornings. With its location on the new Indigo Purple line, the branch is now even more accessible, allowing community members to take advantage of its many resources. Visitors can easily travel by bus to the branch to work remotely using free Wi-Fi, or bring their children to story time in the Donna M. Talley Story Theater. The East 38th Street branch is also home to a digital creativity workstation equipped with specialized software like Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, Vegas Pro Video Editor, and more, offering tools to support multimedia projects for creators of all skill levels. We look forward to learning more tonight about the incredible work being done here to serve the community. We also have the privilege of hearing from the staff of our Center for Black Literature and Culture, CBLC. CBLC is a cornerstone of the Indianapolis Public Library, dedicated to celebrating the rich and the resilient heritage of those of African descent. Located in the R.B. Annis West Reading Room at Central Library, the CBLC houses a collection of more than 25,000 items that showcase Black history and culture. The space is open to all who wish to explore and honor the vibrant legacy that has shaped nations across the globe. I'm excited to hear more about the CBLC's plans for the upcoming year from our relatively new director. As we approach the holiday season, I hope everyone finds time to celebrate with friends, family, and loved ones. On behalf of the board, I want to express our sincere gratitude to all Indianapolis Public Library staff for the impactful and meaningful work that you do every day. With that, let's proceed with tonight's meeting. I now invite Ms. Bambi P., branch manager for East 38th Street, to share her report. Good evening.
Hello, President Tribble and members of the Library Board. Welcome to the East 38th Street Library. We are so excited to host you this evening. Our library branch does do lots for our community, and we have such a rich history in this area. We are a small but mighty group. We have one branch manager, a full-time adult librarian, a full-time children's librarian, a full-time teen public services associate, a full-time circulation supervisor, 2 part-time library security assistants, 2 full-time library assistants, 1 full-time computer lab assistant, 1 part-time computer lab assistant, and 3 pages to do all the wonderful work that we do here. Our demographic that we serve is the majority is between 18 and 64, a little bit more than 50%. We have some that are under 18, some 65 and older. The majority of our population is Black African American. We also have some of the Hispanic population, Asian population, and the white population for what we serve. And when we talk about how we serve, we do a lot. We have our community pantry, which helps to address, in a small way, the need in this area. We have lots of in-branch programs. We are expanding and adding more music programs to bring music to the community. We are adding more animal programs to bring animals to the community. We also have our computer programs. We have Career Center, where people can come and get assistance applying for jobs, creating a cover letter, creating a resume, and that's one-on-one help when they come to those services. We also have our tech learning team coming out once a month to teach classes on Canva or Wix or I can't remember the other one. We offer a wide array of services. We let a lot of our community partners come in and table in our vestibule and talk about the services that they have to offer. Eskenazi is here weekly to talk to the community about services that are available just down the street. The Damien Center is here twice a month, and one of those times they bring their mobile unit and they provide HIV and Hep C testing with wraparound services for people who test positive. They encourage people to get tested by offering them food, so they're more willing to take the testing and get those services that they might desperately need. And we do a lot of community outreach. We're very involved in the community. Every opportunity we have, if we can fit it into the schedule, we're going to go out and have a good time and show the people why they should come see us at the library. These are some images of a lot of things that we've had going on around the branch. So one of our community outreach tables, we started planting seeds from our seed garden outside to show the community how to grow the seeds that we are offering to them for free, even if they don't have land. We, for Halloween, dressed up, and the community donated the candy along with branch staff to pass out. We had enough candy and snacks to pass out for 2 weeks. And that was without a call out. That was just, I want to donate this. We also did a food distribution for Thanksgiving. We partnered with Devington and Arlington Woods, and they provided a hot meal, and the East 38th Street staff paid for 10 pies so that everybody could get a slice of pie, and we distributed 54 meals that day just to provide some food relief in the area. We've had the animal shows. That's an example of a couple of the baskets of candy, some of our outreach events. That's Purina showing our Career Center with the traveling bear from summer reading. And the last picture there that I wanted to share with you was our adult librarian is very much into zines, and we have a zine collection here in this library. It's special to this library. And we hosted a zine conference for people who made zines and sold zines, and they are a very artistic expression, and we held classes that day for that conference to show people how to make zines and how to market them and how to sell them. And we have zine making kits available at our desk if people just need materials to be able to create them, and they can market them and sell them. But we circulate a lot of them here in our branch, so we're pretty proud that one of our own librarians curated this collection, and it's housed here at the East 38th Street Library for people to check out. We have lots of other partnerships. We also do the Vita Tax Service, which offers free tax prep for people in the community who need it. We have YMCA do adult education for diabetes to help people learn how to manage their diabetes or how to reverse diabetes if possible through diet and exercise. We said the tech learning team in the Damien Center. And then, of course, we have the Seed Library. The Seed Library is going to be our programming around the Seed Library is going to be very much expanded for 2025. We are actually removing some landscaping out front to put in a community garden, and everything that we grow is going to be distributed in our food pantry. So we have a lot of great things coming up for 2025. We've partnered with Chip, who writes the Handbook of Help, to get a list of services available directly to our people who are using this library, who we should call first, what we should do first. And they're going to come and provide some trainings. And we're actually going to have them come and table over the next couple of weeks so they can try to identify gaps in our area. What's keeping people from getting jobs? What's keeping people from getting food? What's keeping people from getting housing, and figuring out what we can bring in to fill those gaps. So that's just a few of the things that we have going on in this library. Any questions? It's a lot.
Thank you for that report. Did you want to ask?
Were you saying zine or
Zine, Z-I-N-E.
Z-I-N-E? And what is that again?
They're kind of like mini magazines that people design on their own. It can be their own original artwork. It's their own personal opinions. So we have a lot of varying opinions going on in all these individual zines. And it's just a really great artistic expression. I love going through and looking at them and just seeing how people are expressing themselves.
That's the first time I've heard that word.
We have a whole display out there.
I walked past, the display really pops. It's really
Yeah.
pretty neat.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Dr. Palacio?
Hi. So when did you move here?
So I started at this branch in April,
Okay.
and there were already a lot of these really great things going on when I came here. And we've just identified what we're doing really well and figuring out how we can expand on all of those things.
What's most exciting for you here?
The most exciting, I'm really excited about the community garden.
Okay.
We did put things out in pots this year as the landscaping was not ready. And we had a lot of concern about if the plants would get damaged or if things would get taken. And I said, I'm not concerned if anybody takes the food. If they take the food, they must need it. But I want everyone to see that just because you don't have land doesn't mean you can't grow things. And we had people coming and checking in at least weekly to see if anything's flowered, to see if anything has produced any fruit. And we still have the plants inside. We moved them inside when the weather got too cold because we are curious if they're going to still continue to fruit while they're inside.
Interesting. Thanks.
Well, you haven't even been here a year yet, have you?
No,
You've got a lot going on.
I
Very
know.
good. You and your staff. Very good.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ms. P? We really appreciate your report and appreciate your hosting us tonight, and keep up the good work. Thank you very much. We'll move on now for a report on the Center for Black Literature and Culture. I'll ask Ms. Alexis Hunt, the manager of CBLC, to give her report. Welcome, Ms. Hunt.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Yes, thank you for inviting me. So, as you said before, my name is Alexis Hunt. I am the manager for the Center for Black Literature and Culture. Before we get started, I just wanted to give you guys a glimpse of who I am. So, I graduated in 2020 from IUPUI, now IUI, with my bachelor's in English and Black Studies. During that time, I was very involved. I love community work, and during that time, the CBLC was created in 2017, so it was a really great place and a great inspiration for me in undergrad. After that, I went on to graduate school, where I studied at IU Bloomington and got my master's in African American and African Diaspora Studies, as well as my master's in library science with a focus in digital humanities. So that's a little bit about me, and I took this role in April of 2024 of this year. I'm really excited to be here and excited to tell you guys about what the Center for Black Literature and Culture is doing and the things that we have planned for next year. So to begin, who are we? So I kind of explained myself. My name is Alexis. I am the manager for the Center for Black Literature and Culture, but we also have a public services associate. Her name is Brianna Barnes. So we are a healthy staff of 2 growing into 3. But as for right now, Brianna Barnes is our Public Services Associate. She does a lot of wonderful work. She's been in the CBOC for 3 years. So as I talk about what we've been doing and some of the programs that we are implementing, you will hear some of the things that she's also doing and some things she has done in the past. So my objectives here for today are to talk about the goals and vision of the CBLC, give a collection update, kind of talk about the programming that we have planned for next year, outreach and partnerships, and teamwork and collaboration. So we're really excited. As I said before, we're a team of 2 growing into a healthy team of 3. So we're doing as much as we can right now. So I want to start off with this quote to kind of give you guys a glimpse into what the CBLC is doing and the mindset that we're in, by Langston Hughes. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. So this quote kind of grounds us in the CBLC in terms of the programs that we want to implement and the things that we're going to do. We want to make sure that we stay inspired and that we inspire our community through our programming. So we want to be a center of knowledge concerning Black lived experiences and culture. So we have a collection of over 25,000 materials, and throughout that collection that encompasses a lot of storytellings, a lot of various experiences, knowledge about the African diaspora. We want to celebrate, preserve, and promote Black culture. So we also have 5 digital kiosks within the Center for Black Literature and Culture, that being Black librarianship, African diaspora, Black literature, that we're also working with our IT department to update as well. Be a space of learning, creativity, and where dialogue can thrive. So we want to promote healthy conversations and healthy dialogue in the CBLC around Black culture, and just educating the community on that history. And we want to promote wellness, accessibility, learning, and diversity. So we want all people to feel like they can come in and be welcomed into that space. So a little bit about the CBLC is that it was created in 2017 as a space of windows and mirrors. So a space where, as a mirror, you're able to see yourself reflected in our collection of newspapers, magazines, books, movies, audiobooks, things like that. But also a space of mirrors where you can look in and you're able to celebrate Black culture and Black literature and being able to engage with that space. If you look on the walls, we have, people who have made contributions to Black culture, such as Langston Hughes or Nell Hurston engraved on our walls. And we also have bios on people such as Ta-Nehisi Coates on our wall. So it's a great place where people can be surrounded by that culture. So I'm going to go into our goals for 2025 to 2026. So we want to increase programming by 50%. So in the CBLC, we plan to have a program every second Tuesday of the month, as well as a book talk every third Monday of the month. So that way it creates consistent programs where people know that something is going to be happening in this space. We want to increase collection usage by 10%. So we are excited that we have a collection move happening in the CBLC to where the space just outside the threshold of the CBLC will now be utilized with CBLC materials. So patrons will no longer need to travel down the stairs to reach more of our collection. We want to increase CBLC staff morale. So we want to encourage collaboration, utilize the strength of our staff, provide training support and development. So again, it is just me and Brianna Barnes right now, and she's been phenomenal. And through that, like, she's attended things like BCLA, but also just taking the time to educate ourselves more on Black culture, Black literature, and making sure that we're taking all the necessary trainings that we need to just to have healthy programs and a healthy collection. We want to increase partnerships, internal and external, by 50%. So we're going to engage with community partners, and I'll be getting into that more throughout the presentation. And we also want to have a CBLC desk schedule Monday through Friday. So currently, Brianna Barnes is on the CBLC desk Monday through Fridays. If you've ever been in the CBLC, there is a tiny desk, which I have a picture of in the slides that we'll be showing. So collection update. So the collection has been weeded and duplicates have been taken off shelves. I'm really excited about this because our shelves are very packed and very tight. We want people to come in and not feel overwhelmed by the amount of stuff we have on our shelves. Now, we did have a good problem to where we had a lot of materials, but sometimes we want to make sure that people know that, they're not overwhelmed. So special thanks to Brandy, Robin, Liz, Elizabeth Shutley, and Brianna Barnes for their help in making that instrumental. We also have a desk in the CBLC. So now, if you're at Central, sometimes people go to the info desk to ask questions about any type of reference questions they have pertaining to the Center for Black Literature and Culture. Well, we don't want people to have to leave that space and then come back and then leave that space and then come back. So we really have a desk in there, and thank you to Mike Coughlin for helping us with that project. Overton and Associates measured and provided quotes for the CBLC and World Languages Shift. So our project got pushed back a little bit, but that project is projected for early January. So we're excited again to have our fiction, our magazines, our newspaper just outside the CBLC while still maintaining that space. So now when people walk up the stairs, they will be engulfed in all CBLC. So this is what our desk looks like in the CBLC. It is small but mighty. So I'm very excited about that. The good thing is that we're able to move it around the CBLC. So whether right now, if we want to have it near our children's collection, if we want to have it near our study tables located in the back, we can, just depending on where our patrons plan to be in the moment. So like I said, it's small but mighty, but it gets the job done. Programming. We're really excited for programming we have in 2025. So starting January 7th, we will explore the arts with artist Wavy Blaine. If you're not familiar with him, he is an artist that worked on a Black Lives Matter mural that was created in 2020, but he was also an artist featured in Gang Gang. So he mixes Japanese and Afrofuturistic style art together, and he's going to be talking about that and giving an artist workshop on January 7th to the public. We're excited to be doing a melanated movie series also in February. Again, these programs are scheduled to happen every second Tuesday of the month. So right now we're working with the Black Film Center and Archive to work on those movie rights and what we can show. But we're excited to be doing that program. So if you have been to our previous program where we showed American fiction, it's going to follow that same format to where we had a panel discussion at the beginning, and then we watched the movie, and then we followed up with another discussion. We also are going to be partnering with Media Arts and Science. So one thing that me and Brianna both are very passionate about is strengthening our ties to the university. So working with various departments. So we're excited to be working with Professor Matthew Powers to come in and talk about 3D art and animation and the Center for Black Literature and Culture. In April, we're going to be doing National Poetry Month. So we're excited to be inviting Dr. Rhonda Henry Anthony in on April 1st to be talking about the late Nikki Giovanni or similar writers in that manner. Followed up, we will be working with Dr. Lazana Kazembe from the university, who just won an Emmy for his poetry, to be doing a keynote speaker address. So, and this is done through the Africana Studies Department at IEPUI, which is my favorite because I graduated from them. So great people. Again, book talks is something that we're excited about. So as I mentioned before, Brianna Barnes is our public services associate, and she's going to be doing book talks the third Monday of every month. So to give you guys a little bit of an example of what those book talks are going to be looking like, we previously had book talks in the CBLC I believe last month, and we talked about the book Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. So that's kind of what that's going to be looking like moving forward in the CBLC. And then last but not least, we have our Juneteenth Book Fest. So that's our annual event, and we're really, really excited about that, to be partnering with Indy Juneteenth, which is the city. And our keynote speaker will be Michael Threed. So if you're not familiar with him, he is a kind of like library influencer. We're really excited about that keynote speaker. Some events that are not mentioned here would be our IU Natatorium event. So we're doing a swim series. I just wanted to shout out Elizabeth Shutley for helping me so much with this program. But it is going to be a program to where on July 7th, 40 people are going to be able to come in and learn about swim safety. So they're going to be talking about sunscreen, what does it look like when somebody is drowning, how to put on a life jacket and things like that. The next day on the 8th, 25 people aged 6 to 18 are going to be able to go to the IU natatorium for swim lessons, and it is free of charge. Now, I said that we have a healthy staff of 2, and we're growing into 3, but all that would not be possible without the amazing partnerships that we have here in the city. So again, I just want to talk about the Indiana University partnerships with the departments such as the Media Arts and Science, the Africana Studies Department, and the IU Natatorium. We're also partnering here internally with the Learning Curve. So going back to that, making internal collaborations more progressive in the CBLC was very important. Indiana Humanities, WFYI, Wavy Blaine, Indie Juneteenth, and Black Film Center and Archive. So these are some of the many partnerships that we're really excited for and that we look forward to having. Thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hunt. I did have one question, and I'll check in with our board members. The partnerships that you mentioned, is it more about collaborating, or do they actually share resources and funding, or how do those partnerships work? You can just give me an example.
Yeah, so IU Natatorium is more like sharing resources. So they're going to be coming in and sharing their swim instructors. So they're going to be coming in and educating people. But also they're letting us use their pool because we don't have a pool. Right. So they're going to be coming in and letting us use their pool. So that one looks like more like resources. Mm-hmm. Even with Indie Juneteenth, I would say it's more about resources. So they have a lot of ties and a lot of connections in the city. Now, will we like the funding? Absolutely. But not every partnership is able to offer that. So what we try to do is put together our resources for the community.
That's great. Thank you. Are there other questions?
Well, I hope you'll add the IPS Office of Racial Equity and Inclusion to your partnerships. We don't have any money either, but I'll be happy.
Dr. Patricia Payne, I'm writing it down right now.
And you know that there was someone in town this weekend who is up on the wall. Vivica Fox was here at the Walker Theater, and I was just sitting there wondering, had she stopped in to the library? She was here. She was in a movie, and she was here in person to promote it.
Oh, thank you for telling me that. Now I'm going to send her an email and say, if you ever want to come back, because we do have her on our bookmarks to promote, Indiana talent and Indiana locals. So, or no, she's not local, but people who are born in Indiana.
Okay. Thank you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Any other, Dr. Palacio?
So you mentioned kiosks. How do they work?
The digital kiosk? Yeah, so we have 5 interactive digital kiosks in the CBLC. So we have 2 placed that are at the back, and the rest are placed like 3 kind of in the middle and toward the front. But each of them have different types of information. So we have one for Black librarianship, one for African diaspora, one for Black literature, and all of them are filled with information pertaining to that subject. So, for example, the African diaspora, what I can remember off the top of my head is if you click on it, you're able to interact with the transatlantic slave trade and how it kind of moved across the Atlantic. So that's what our digital kiosks are able to do. Again, it's very interactive. So the sound kind of descends upon you, but it's kind of like a really long screen and you're able to see the materials.
And do you project those into other branches or tour them or
I
share?
can't speak if they're in other branches. I just know that they're in the CBLC, but if other branches would like them, I guess we can give them a contact.
Well, I think the more general question is how do you project what you're doing to the other branches?
Oh, how do we project what we're doing to the other branches? Yes. So basically through email communication, making sure that we send it out to the other branches or branch managers. So there's managers meetings and things like that where we're able to talk about what we're doing and things like that. So just making sure that I have thorough communication with my
But
colleagues.
you don't have like a CBLC representation here, for example? Like a kiosk here or something?
No, we don't have a kiosk, but what we have done, like for the Fort Bend branch, we have given our pamphlets out. So we sent 300 pamphlets. We just sent 300 pamphlets for the CBLC over to the info zone, and we've sent pamphlets over to the Fort Bend branch. Now, I can send pamphlets to the other branches, to our other 24 locations as well.
What do the pamphlets contain?
So the pamphlets contain information about the CBLC, meaning its founding, what you can find inside of our collection, information about its goals and its visions and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we also have bookmarks. So we have a lot of promotional materials. We actually just gave 300 CBLC bags to Indy Juneteenth last week for them to pass out at their Christmas giveaway.
So I think for those who can't make it to Central, how do we make this accessible to them?
How do we make the CBLC accessible to people not at Central?
Who are not able to make it to Central?
Just off the top of my head, I'm probably gonna say through online programming. That's probably one way that you can make it accessible. Another way is collaborating with branch managers. So again, I'm going to have to probably get back on the other ideas, but just collaborating with managers and probably doing online programming are ways that we can do that.
All right. Sounds good.
Dr. White?
Alexis, you seem to be doing a great job. You're very excited, and I'm happy for you. I just want to put one or two thoughts on your mind. The Center for Black Literature and Culture deals with the national scope of entities involving Black culture. One of the things that I've been concerned about, because I haven't been in the center in the last, I think, 2 years really, but do we have a comprehensive section in the center dedicated to African Americans and Black Americans who have made substantial contributions in Indiana in the center?
Yeah, on our walls, actually, we actually highlight Black history of the Indiana Avenue. So,
Okay, that's one entity. But I guess what I'm saying is I hope that we have a collective. When you say culture, that includes actors, preachers, teachers, etc. I don't think we have that section of the Center on African American Black culture. And I guess we've had so many outstanding African American leaders and contributors in this state, and of course in Marion County, that I would encourage you or someone to look into how can we enhance that. I know we probably have people like Bill Mays and other people there, but for instance, we have a person here at this table who would be in that, and that is Dr. Payne, and she knows that. But I don't want us to miss that because we're dying every day, and I would like for people to have references to support who we put in and why. But just think about that. That's something that you can't do alone. But we need a process to review and enhance that part of our collection on Black culture. And the other piece is, do you know how many public high schools do we have in the city, in the county? Public high schools.
I'm unsure of that at the moment.
Well, I didn't expect you to know that answer, but I'm just asking that dumb question to make you think about this. In the newspaper every month or week, they have the Student of the Month. And that's become a pretty big deal. But I know in these different high schools, especially in Marion County, in suburban Marion County, you have African-American students, white students, and others who need to be involved in learning about Black history and culture, especially in these times where you have this anti-woke sentiment. It's not time to go away, it's time to step up. With that, you talk about the diaspora. Do we also have a track with the great Black migration from the South to the North and that influence on culture?
I believe that is in our kiosk.
Because I missed that when I was there before. But that is very important because from that, you got people like Michael Jackson and a bunch of other people that derive from that migration. So what I would like to do sometime is have a little time to talk to you and your assistant. So even though I'm retired and an old man, we need to set up that meeting because there are several things involving connections with high schools and what I'm looking at to enhance the center even more because it's outstanding now. But I want us to be more than just excited about actors and singers or what have you because we've had so many outstanding African Americans and Blacks in Marion County and the state of Indiana that no one knows about. And if they can't get it from the center, where they get it from? And then to make a connection with different high schools, and some have clubs or pretend to have clubs that we probably could enhance. So I will get with me and we can set a time for me to come down and sit for an hour and a half just to brainstorm with you because I think there are some other pieces that can enhance your programming and also your reach out to the various high schools.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. White. Again, like the CBLC, we're all about promoting and preserving that culture. So I definitely will welcome a meeting and ensure that we are capturing those that history that's being made every day by African Americans right here in our city.
Mid to late January. The meeting.
Oh, late January? Okay. After the holidays, I got you.
The large posters can't encompass everybody, but journalism is represented, basketball, music. It is encompassing many others. You also do a really nice job with your display cases, and they rotate quite a bit, and then there's the audio display cases as well. So that offers you that flexibility to include more of the representation, but you already have it there, so yeah, nice work.
Thank you so much. I believe you're referencing our display case with Abby Morgan. Yes, thank you so much. A librarian at Central, Stephanie Flood, was very instrumental, again, going back to that internal collaboration and helping us secure that display case there. So,
And you have some other really nice things.
thank you.
Thank you for bringing biography upstairs.
Yes.
No sense to it.
Are there any other questions? Thank you so much for coming. We've been waiting for you. We've been waiting to hear from you and appreciate the way that you are stepping in and moving the center forward and all the possibilities that you've already laid out that Dr. White is talking about and how I'm just thinking about how this is one of our special. There's so many jewels across our system, and this is one of them, and like to figure out how to shine a light on them and also to replicate them. I think that's part of what Dr. Palacio is saying, like it's physically located there. How how do we replicate some of that in other branches and other places? So very exciting. Thank you for coming and sharing, and happy holidays.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, I look forward to working with you.
Great. It's time for our public comment. Is anyone signed up? Okay. So we'll move on to approval of the minutes. We have minutes from an executive session that was held on November 25th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the executive session held on November 25th?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The minutes have been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the roll, please.
Dr. Palacio,
Approve.
Dr. Payne,
Approved.
Dr. Riolo,
Approve.
Dr. White,
Approved.
and Ms. Treville.
Approved. The motion carries. We'll next ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the board that was held November 25th, 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? The minutes have been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have something.
Dr. Yellow?
I believe that there is an error in new business. Resolution 85, 2024, acceptance of the recommendation for diversity policy and HR committee. The way I recall the discussion was that Dr. Murtada was nay and Payne was aye. And she's not here, so I wasn't able to speak with Dr. Murtada about that. But I remember the discussion being the opposite of that. It's on page 29 of the packet, page 9 of the minutes. Because there was quite a discussion prior to the general meeting.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this was the grievance decision.
See, yes.
Yes, I do think I do recall Dr. Murtada was nay and Dr. Payne was yay. Dr. Payne, this was the
About
grievance.
the grievance.
And the approval of the CEO's decision.
Yeah, I can't bring it up, so I can't.
It's here. I think you did approve it, and I think Dr. Murtada.
Okay.
Sounds accurate.
So we need a motion to correct
You
them.
approved with correction.
Do we,
Who gave the motion?
did,
Make the motion.
did you make, are you making a motion?
Sure, I move to correct the minutes to Dr. Murtada nay and Dr. Payne voting aye on resolution 85, 2024.
The change has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Do we know, Ms. Gilbert, if the vote tally was signed correctly? That would be the other thing that I would want to make sure that the
I would have to look.
Okay,
at all
so we
the-
wanna make
the
sure
signed
that that's-
resolutions.
yes.
ma'am.
I want to make sure that that's
Mhm.
corrected. Any other discussion? Okay, so we'll take a vote, a roll call to approve the change of the minutes.
Dr. Palacio,
Approve.
Dr. Payne,
Approved.
Dr. Riolo,
Approved.
and Ms. Treville,
Approved.
and Dr. White.
Approved.
The motion passes. So now we will, is there any other discussion on the minutes from the regular meeting? Okay, so now the chair will accept a motion to approve the minutes as amended for the November 25th meeting. This is Resolution 85, 2020. I'm sorry, yeah, this is Resolution 85, 2024, and I misspoke. This is the acceptance of the recommendation from the Diversity Policy and Human Resources committee grievance decision. So is there a motion to approve the amendment of that resolution?
So,
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? So that will also amend our minutes. Okay. So hearing no discussion, we'll call the roll, please.
Okay. Dr. Palacio,
Approve.
Dr. Payne,
Approve.
Dr. Riolo,
approved.
Dr. White,
Approve.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion passes. Did I cover all the bases, council? Okay. All right. So those are minutes. Now, we also have minutes from the annual meeting on November 25th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the annual meeting?
So moved.
The minutes have been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
The minutes have been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Dr. Palacio,
Approve.
Dr. Payne,
Approved.
Dr. Riolo,
Approved.
Dr. White,
Approve.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries. That takes us to our next agenda item, which is Finance Committee, which is chaired by Dr. Patricia Payne and members Dr. Palacio and Dr. White.
We will invite Lolita Campbell up, our CFO, and Mary Rankin, our secretary. Treasurer. I always do that, don't I? Treasurer. I'm going to get that right one of these days.
Good evening.
It's right in front of my face.
Good evening, Board President Trimble and trustees. First, I want to apologize if I sound a little congested, because I am, so dealing with this cold. Mary and I are here to present the Treasury Report for November 2024. I will review the revenue, and Mary will review the expenditures. So, for November, we are 11/12 into the year, which is about 92%. And there we go. Some things I'd like to highlight is that we're only at 70% of our revenue, but again, this is normal. We receive our remaining of our revenue this month. In fact, for the property taxes, I believe we received about $1.7 million already for property taxes. So we'll be at the 100% in that line item. And then another thing I want to highlight is our interest. Although we have received $137,000 in interest for this month, for the month of November, the interest rate are slowly lowering compared to how it was this time last year. So right now for Hoosier Fund is 4.9% and Trust of Indiana is 4.82%. Other than that, in the intergovernmental section, we did receive some E-rate funding of about $41,000. And on the first slide, on the first graph is a slope graph, and this is really just showing that we're consistent with the previous year and also with the budget. The blue line is the 2024, and as you can see down in the miscellaneous where the interest is a little higher than the budget in previous years. And then the other graph to your right is year-to-date, and you can see this is pretty consistent with all with the previous year as well as the budget. We do see a little slight increase in the miscellaneous, again, because that is interest. And now Mary will review the expenditures.
Our personal services and benefits are favorable and under budget. That's the first line, type 4-1. The supplies are consistent and under budget. Other services and charges are favorable and under budget. We do expect more in December, as we'll be processing several months' worth of legal invoices, security, and cleaning services. Capital outlay is consistent with last year. Overall, our expenses are under 92% of the yearly budget, so we're about 12% under as of November. The graphs show this. With personal services and benefits, our budget is what's in gray bar, and the blue bar is this year, which shows slightly over last year at this time. Supplies are also showing under, as well as other services and charges for the month. And year-to-date reflection also shows that we're under budget year-to-date on every category, or equal on supplies and capital outlay. And are there any questions on the treasurer's report?
Before we ask questions, I'm going to take a motion to accept the report of the treasurer for November 2024 for filing for audit. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved, the report has been moved and seconded. Now, is there any discussion? Are there any questions? None? I did wonder, you said you were going to be processing several months of legal and invoices. Do those invoices not come in monthly, or are they submitted on a different basis, or?
They come in a little bit late,
Okay,
yeah.
And for security and cleaning services, we have to do a transferring, which is part of this resolution before we can process some
Okay.
of those invoices.
okay. Any other questions or any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call to accept the report of the treasurer.
Dr. Palacio?
Approve.
Dr. Payne?
Approved.
Dr. Riolo?
Approved.
Dr. White?
Approve.
And Ms. Jewell?
Approved, the motion carries. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Next is for Resolution 86-2024. I'd like to call Deb Lambert up here for CMSA.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I'm bringing Resolution 86-2024, which is a renewal for our Baker & Taylor book leasing and high-demand services. The service allows us to quickly order and turn around new materials that are very popular by the most popular authors. The service, provides selection lists and processing, which is all the labels and RFID tags and everything, and cataloging, which is the MARC records for it. And with this, we're able to get these materials in the door and out of CMSA with a 2-day turnaround time for the average for the whole year, as opposed to 2 to 3 weeks for things that we fully process and catalog. So we are renewing this for 6 months at this time, or asking to renew it for 6 months at this time, because we want to explore trying to do it in-house with our existing staff to see if they can achieve this 2-day turnaround with full in-house processing and cataloging. So it's possible that we'll come back in 6 months for a second renewal for the year if we learn that's not possible. And this comes out of the materials budget. There's no special expenditure for it.
And Madam Chair, this does come from approval, with approval from the Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you. So Resolution 86, 2024, regarding approval of Baker & Taylor Leasing High Demand Services Renewal, received a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee, so the chair, pardon me, would request a second to such recommendation. The motion has been seconded. Is there any discussion?
May I ask a question?
Yes, please, Dr. Yellow.
How would this affect the staffing overload or delays in processing other materials?
That's a good question, and that's part of the requirement is if we make this change, it won't affect or slow down the other timeline for things that we do full processing and cataloging. So it's a trial. And we have, experienced a shift in our requirements for processing because we're buying more ebooks than we used to and less physical books. So there's been a slow trend. There are other priorities for the department in the coming year that may affect this as well. But we wouldn't try it if we didn't think we might have the capacity to do it. And the reason for trying it is because we would save those fees for processing and cataloging and be able to spend it on more physical materials. Is the reason we want to do this trial.
Don't want grumbling staff to say that they're overworked.
Understood.
Thank you.
This actually is, a request is coming from staff and CMSA. Can we try this?
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Dr. Palacio?
Approve?
Dr. Payne? Approved. Dr. Riolo?
Approved.
Dr. White?
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble?
Approved. The motion carries. Back to you for Resolution 87.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you, Ms. Lambert.
So on the next two resolutions, I'd like to skip these two resolutions and go to the last three, which is through the IT department, and invite Shanika up here to go through resolutions 89 through 91-2024, if it's okay with you.
Why do you, because I'm just wondering, Shanika, aren't you also doing the DPHR, or is this the same one? Okay. So she's going to end up coming back up for that one later, right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Isn't there a DPHR? I think if we can just take them in order, because then Shanika can stay through.
No, there's no DPHR in my resolutions. The next resolution is a closure of bond and the transfer between classifications.
Right. And then after that, so if we can have Shanika do these, if we can do these in order, then Shanika will come up
Well,
at the end, and then she will also have the DPHR resolution to present.
Okay, well,
Okay.
the transfer has something to do with one of her resolutions, but that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so
Thank you.
let me, because I kind of had it set up. So Resolution 87-2024 is closing of bond, Birth 1. And this is an old bond. Actually, I was trying to do some research. It's very old. Probably when I graduated from high school, that's how old it is. And I won't say when that was. So it's approximately 70,000 plus in there. It accrues interest every day. So we want to close this bond and transfer it into Birth 2. This will allow us to utilize this bond funds for other capital projects. And this resolution was completed by Jeff Quackenbush out of Barnes and Thornsburg, and it was also recommended by him to go ahead and close it. And we have already submitted to Gateway for DLGF to review, and they have approved that transfer as well. So we're sending it through our board, and it was approved in Finance Committee as well.
Okay. So Resolution 87, 2024, regarding the approval to close bond fund number 1, Birth 1, received a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee. The chair would request a second to such recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and it's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Gilbert, please call the roll.
Dr. Palacio?
Approve?
Dr. Payne?
Approved.
Dr. Riolo?
Approved.
Dr. White?
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble?
Approved. The motion carries.
Thank you. The next resolution is a transfer between classifications in accounts. So the first transfer is for $9,000. Is for CMSA to transfer from out of their appointed salaries to other contracted services. This is similar to what we performed in October. I believe the resolution was 66-2024. It's for a staff member who unexpectedly passed away, and they're trying to hire for that position. So this will help take us into the remaining of the year for the contractor services. And that was $9,000. And then the next two transfers is a total of $192,100. $167,100 from appointed salaries for facilities, which is Adams, and then the $25,000 is through IT to help support this transfer to cover expenses for cleaning services and security services. And then the last transfer from supplies is from IT, office supplies, facility and purchasing of $100,000. Transferred into repair and maintenance for computers for $100,000 to help support the resolution 91-2024 that will be presented shortly. And that is a total of $301,100 to be transferred.
Okay, so these resolutions, we have 3 resolutions that are all related to transfers. Are you asking to take them together?
Well, it's just one big transfer, but for out of 3 departments.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 3, sorry. So you were talking about 88.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I apologize. All right, so Resolution 88, 2024, regarding the transfers between classification and accounts, received a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee, so the chair would request a second. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Dr. Palacio.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries.
Thank you. That did go smooth. So let's go back. I'd like to invite Shanika Hayward up to present the next 3 resolutions. Thank you. Oh, there you are. Hi.
Ms. Haywood, does this bring back memories for you?
It does.
I was watching you smile back there, and I was remembering the first time that I met you when I started, and you
Yes.
talked about your time here as the branch manager.
Yes, it's very dear to me.
Yeah.
So I started as a librarian. I'm so proud of you, Banby. It's great.
Yep.
Left in good hands, so it's great. So thank you for that opportunity to say that. And good evening, members of the board. I'll be bringing Resolution 89. And so this resolution, great, is for the approval of contract for the purchase of basic maintenance of existing network infrastructure. And so the resolutions I'm going to bring before you are E-rate resolutions. And an E-rate is basically reimbursement that the library receive for Category 1, which is our internet, and Category 2, which is our software and our hardware. And so these resolutions are going to focus on hardware and software. The reason why that's important, because some items are eligible and some items are ineligible. However, every time I bring the resolutions, we have to budget for the total amount because there's no guarantee that's going to be reimbursed. Is that good there? Okay, great. So the first resolution is Resolution 89. It's for our basic maintenance for our network equipment. We've budgeted for this for funding year 25 and 26. The total for this resolution is $180,647.74. With E-rate as well, all of these proposals have to go out for a competitive bidding process. So they have their own federal E-rate process as well. Any questions for Resolution 89? And this is annual. This comes before the board every year.
Okay. So Resolution 89, 2024 received a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee, so the chair would request a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion or are there any questions? Hearing none, Ms. Gilbert, please call the roll.
Dr. Palacio.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries.
Thank you. The next resolution is Resolution Number 90, is for the approval for the contract to purchase access points. This is also E-rate as well. This also passed out of the Finance Committee, and it's just to make sure that we have faster, reliable Wi-Fi, which is extremely important. So it's moving to a Wi-Fi 6, and this passed out of the committee, and we budgeted for 25 and 26 operating budget, and we're expecting 85% reimbursement. It's for $131,254.30.
90, 2024, regarding the approval to award a contract for purchase of access points. Received a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee, so the chair would request a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? So these are access points for every branch?
Every branch.
Okay. Any further discussion? Ms. Gilbert, please call the roll.
Dr. Palacio?
Approved.
Dr. Payne?
Approved.
Dr. Riolo?
Approved.
Dr. White?
Approved.
And Ms. Trevor?
Approved, the motion carries.
Okay, Dr. Payne. Okay, so we have Resolution 91. And unfortunately, I wanted to start here. We did budget for this resolution. The original amount for this renewal for this, our virtual service was $1,400. Unfortunately, this particular company that we purchased our license and subscriptions for, they were bought out, and it's all in the resolution. But I thought I'd better explain it because it did not receive favorable from our chair, Dr. Payne. So I wanted to make sure I made this very clear. So they were bought out by another company, and unfortunately, the price is now $92,926.08. Yes, we can go out next year and look for another competitive vendor. However, it would disrupt our services for this year, and this is a renewal. And so that's why I wanted the favorable of Dr. Payne too, but she still said no. So but the committee agreed to a yes, but that's why. And I have Dee here if you want to ask more questions about that. Oh, okay. Well, that's important to me. Okay, wonderful. Is there any questions for this resolution, Resolution 91?
So the committee did have a favorable recommendation?
Yes.
So Resolution 91, 2024, regarding approval to renew a contract to Technology Integration Group, received a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee, so the chair would request a second.
Second.
Okay. Now, is there,
I was talking. I said, I'm glad he did it.
is there any discussion? Dr. Payne?
I have nothing else to say.
Okay. Dr. Palacio?
So, just for illustration, we are, so what you're saying is this company was bought by another company, they changed the prices, end up being almost, not quite 10 times, but close to 10 times, right?
Yes.
No,
More than 10. More than
100 times, sorry.
Yes.
And it's nothing we can do because we can't dismantle everything in a heartbeat and then
It's our
start
virtual,
looking-
it's,
right.
it's everything that we do. Our Munis, our Polaris.
It's a consolation price. We do get a little extra services, right?
So the goal is to go out next year. We would definitely look for competitive prices. But this year, because it was a renewal, and they let us know they were bought out. And so the goal is to look for more competitive prices, unfortunately, but this is what we have.
But this includes additional services we were not receiving before, right?
Correct, because it was bought out. So they're going to add a little bit more, which is their maintenance
That's
services.
the consolation. Okay,
Yeah, unfortunate.
thank you.
Yes.
Well, one thing good about it is that she had enough in her budget to do the transfer to cover the expense.
Right. Because of E-rate, you have to budget for the total amount of all expenses for hardware and software.
Any further discussion?
Just a point of personal privilege. I want to cite that our financial chair went through a great deal of distress over the increased cost of this particular item, but I think she's mediated now, and we're set for the holidays, so we're in good shape.
That's what she said, but I
Thank you,
see
Dr.
that.
White.
I mean, I can understand, and it sounds like you all worked through, but going from 1,400 to 92,000, that's a pretty big jump. That's a pretty big jump. So it's fair.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Gilbert, please call the roll.
Dr. Palacio,
Approve.
Dr. Payne,
Approve. With
Dr.
pain.
Riolo,
Approved.
Dr. White,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all the resolutions coming through the Finance Committee.
Okay.
I did have some updates. We had a successful NDPL vendor outreach networking event on November the 14th. I just want to applaud Gwen Simmons on this because she did an excellent job. The other update, we received our 1782 notice, which is our final budget approval notice, this past week. Yeah, last week, I think it was. And then Greg and I will continue to do our efforts of advocating for more lit and co-ed. We recently met with Counselor Boots and Counselor Barth in regards to this, and we are scheduled to meet with Counselor Nelson in January. And those are the only updates I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam CFO. That concludes your report.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Ms. Hayward, you can remain. Thank you,
Okay, thank you.
Lolita. And we'll move on to the Diversity Policy and Human Resources Committee. Mr. Raymond Biederman is attending the recital of his daughter, so he has his priorities in order. The other members of the committee are Dr. Palacio and Dr. Payne. I understand, Ms. Hayward, that you will be presenting this next resolution?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
The next resolution is our annual renewal, annual acceptance for acceptable use policy. Is the resolution number, is there going to be a slide for that? I sent it to Tisha. We do not. Okay, well, keep moving. Okay, 92. Resolution 92. So this policy has been updated to address the Children's Internet Protection Act. It's just requiring that the library really pay attention to the safety and security of our kiddos, our children, using our computers, which entails email, chat, gaming, and social communication. And it's listed under the Internet Safety Policy in your packet, so you can see the updated version there. And we also added terms to address our Wi-Fi connectivity because the library has embraced and enhanced our Wi-Fi lending program through our PDA department. So those are just two updates to our annual review of this particular policy.
And this resolution received a positive recommendation in committee?
Yes.
Okay, so Resolution 92, 2024, regarding the approval for annual review of IMCPL acceptable use policy received a positive recommendation from the Diversity Policy and Human Resources Committee. So the chair would request a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Gilbert, please call the roll.
Dr. Palacio,
Approve.
Dr. Payne,
Approved.
Dr. Riolo,
Approved.
Dr. White,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Hayward.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item is Facilities Committee. The Facilities Committee is chaired by Dr. Eugene White, and its members are Dr. Colin Murtada and Dr. Lisa Riolo. Dr. White, do you have anything to report?
No, being of sound mind and looking at the holidays, we took care of our resolutions early.
Look at you.
Adam is happy. I'm very happy. Do you have any comments to share with us, Adam? And
Nothing.
that concludes our report.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the Library Foundation update. Did Mr. Biederman appoint anyone to give his report? It's very short. I'll read it. Every month, the Library Foundation provides an update to the library board. The news is to save the date for Circulate, Night at the Library. The Library Foundation's annual fundraiser is set for Friday, May 9th at Central Library, and tickets go on sale in January. We thank the 253 donors who made gifts last month. The following are our top corporate and foundation donors: Cortiva, Griffith Family Foundation Incorporated, McAdams Foundation, PNC Bank, and Rich Charles Incorporated. Please help us to thank them. And that concludes the report of the Indianapolis Public Library Foundation. We'll now move on to the report of the CEO, Mr. Gregory Hill.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President, Board of Trustees. Before you is the confirmatory resolution 93-2024 related to financial travel and personnel matters that occurs between each board meeting. The resolution is in its typical format that is before you each and every month. I would ask for your approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion to approve Resolution 93-2024 regarding finances, personnel, and travel?
Approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, Ms. Gilbert, please call the roll.
Dr. Palacio.
Approved.
Dr. Payne.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Dr. White.
Approved.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approved. Motion carries. Mr. Hill.
Thank you. So I have a brief presentation. It will cover activities that occurred in the month of November. It will include selected branch programs, system-wide program stats, Star Award winners, patron engagement survey. I will briefly cover Staff Day, community impact, and upcoming programs. First, we have juvenile program highlights. At the Warren branch, teens enjoyed a guarded art instruction from local painter Stephanie. In November, we had 36 teens who attended the program, and this program was held at 9 separate locations. Teens shared the paintings they created at Warren's Teen Paint Your Art Out, again, which was guided painting sessions. The group created step-by-step sunset scenes. At Decatur branch, they had November was Dino-Vember at Decatur branch, and it was the honor of the month. They had story time with the special guests. Children enjoyed meeting Rexy. Rexy read books to her buddy, Jameson. Martindale Brightwood, in November, they had arts and crafts program, pumpkin painting. The event began as an adult program, but was very popular, and it was changed to include families, which included a huge attendance boost. Adult program highlights, Central Library. 6 members of the Ad Astra Book Club met on November the 11th to discuss their science fiction read of the month. The book was titled Despair Man by Mary Robinette. The Central Library also held the film screening cinema series. To wrap up the month, the cinema series showed the film Safety Last, and we had 29 participants who participated in that. In the branches, we had the North Star Digital. We had 59 unique users in November who completed a total of 68 hours of independent learning and took 113 total assessments. We still have some encouraging metrics to report, including that this is the 7th month this year where more than 100 assessments were taken. So good job. The next one was the Center for Black Literature and Culture program highlights. The African American History Committee, in support of the Center for Black Literature and Culture, presents Fall Fest 2024. Fall Fest is a contest for poets, rappers, and spoken word artists in grades 6 through 12. Our guest speaker was Yolanda Renee King, the granddaughter of the late Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King. All participants received a gift card, and 10 participants were selected to read their entry in front of everyone there. It was a great program. Thank you for everyone who attended. Thank you for Dr. Payne for attending, and any other board members who attended. It was really a great program, and everyone really enjoyed being able to hear from Yolanda Renee King. So the other program was the Abby Morgan Artist Reception. Guest speaker was, joined the Center for Black Literature and Culture for programs celebrating the vibrant work of Indianapolis native and artist Abby Morgan, exploring her creative journey, community impact, and unique vision. They also had a program called Girl Code. They participated in Ghouls and Code, a spooky and fun coding adventure inspired by Monster High. There was also a binary coded friendship bracelet workshop. This workshop combines creativity and coding as participants design personalized friendship bracelets using binary coded patterns. Some of our programs across the system, starting on the left-hand side from the top, we had 445 youth programs. Youth programs encompasses teens, school age, and infants. We had 9,421 participants. We had 205 adult programs. That includes adults and seniors, with 1,410 patrons who participated in programs across the library system. Next, I'd like to do the November Star Awards winners. Our patron services was Alice Sam. Peer support was Irene Rozier and Rebecca Staley. Community involvement, Donna Server. Page excellence was the pages from Nora and Pike, working really hard to get Nora and Pike ready for opening in February and March. Other duties assigned was Sarah Kress. Volunteers and partnerships was Patricia Rodriguez. And committee's choice was Mike Coughlin. Round of applause for all of our Star Award winners. The next thing I want to talk about here briefly was Staff Day. We had a really great Staff Day. We had quite a bit of staff who participated. It was not a mandatory event, but I think we had 345 staff members who joined us for Staff Day. Thank you to our board members who joined us on Staff Day. It was a really great time. Some of the training highlights was belonging and accessibility for all. It was a sign language communication exercise. Also, we had Project Save training where Veterans Administration did a suicide prevention presentation. And then also we had Book Talk Basics. And then team building and collaboration, I wanted to add under that the cricket basics and also the West African dance. Feedback and employee engagement, the Lillian Children's Hall scholarship announcements, people really appreciated that. And thank you to Roberta Jaggers, president of the Library Foundation, for her interview that she did. And we had some recipients who did an interview as well. So thank you for, again, all board members who attended Staff Day. We really appreciate it. Some of the other comments we had was that it was really relaxing and not so much a lot of learning, but a lot of just wellness activities that they could participate in. They enjoyed the Olympic theme and the video, so thank you for communications for putting that together. And the next thing I want to discuss here real quickly is the patron engagement survey that we started at the beginning of the year. So for September, we had 158 patrons who completed their survey, October 73. November, we had 99 for a total of 330. For the year to date, we had 772 responses, which is maybe not as great as we would hoped it to be, but there's still 772 responses from our patrons who let us know how we were doing as far as our customer service and the cleanliness of our buildings. 90.5% found it welcoming, and 83.9% of patrons who were asked on the survey really enjoyed visiting the branch and received the customer service that they expected when they came through the building. The community impact. This is an average day at the Indianapolis Public Library for the month of November, starting on your left. We circulated 14,710 items. We had 20,578 patrons who visited our website. We offered 23 programs across the library system. We had 5,887 patrons who came through our doors. We registered 149 new card holders, and we had 401 people who attended programs on any given day. Upcoming programs. Monday, January the 6th, is the Indiana Association of Chinese Americans Art Exhibit. It opens January the 6th and runs through January the 26th at the Central Library from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the opening day. January the 11th is Saturday. We have the Teddy Bear Concert. Young children and their families are invited to an introduction to the orchestra through story, movement, and live music. And teddy bears are welcome, and space is limited. The Tuesday, January 28th, historical markers join us at Central Library for this in-person program and learn why markers matter and their continued relevance in today's digital age. We'll explore Indianapolis examples from the Indiana Historical Bureau's vast collection, and then registration is required as well. Of course, there are tons of other programs. If you visit our website, you'll be able to see a variety of programs at all of our 25 locations. And that's the end of my report. If any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Are there any questions for Mr. Hill? Okay. Oh, Dr.
I
Palacio.
just want to, in closing the year, thanks, Mr. Hill, for everything you're doing, everything the team is doing. We always see it every month or when we visit, but just want to take this moment to thank everybody, and especially Mr. Hill for doing all this.
I second that.
I appreciate it. And I also want to thank my executive leadership team. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all the work you do and all the work we continue to do, and we're moving right along. So thank you.
That's great.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm still on the docket. So next up, I'd like to have Ms. Marianne McKenzie come up and present Resolution 94, 2024 to adopt the strategic plan for.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am excited to share with all of you some information about the strategic plan before you have an opportunity to consider Resolution 94, 2024. So I'm delighted to see the board committee that has supported this process and been heavily involved, so hopefully this will be a review for you. But for those of you who were less involved in those meetings over the past year, I hope that you're going to be have an opportunity to recognize the ways that your contributions have impacted this plan, even when you were unable to be present for all the work that happened when going through it. So first of all, as a reminder, back in December or January, about a year ago, we were talking about the structure of this final plan. So I just want to review, our ultimate goal was to have a version of the plan that had a mission, vision, and values that were the foundation from which we could identify strategic priorities, the pillars of community response. And for each of those priorities, we were seeking to develop a strategic goal that identified the key areas of focus underneath those priorities that we hope to tackle to respond to community need. Since that initial discussion, we also have identified key performance indicators to allow us to monitor how successful we are as we implement this plan, related to both the strategic priorities and the goals. In addition, as we have done in previous versions of the strategic plan, there's a sort of a checklist of requirements from the state library, from the Indiana Public Library Standards. And so we have been filing an appendix to what we're calling kind of the public-facing version of the plan, that just kind of makes sure we have hit the mark and fulfilled all the expectations for our long-term plan. And the stuff that gets contained in there is largely items that maybe would be less relevant to a general member of the community who's just really looking to understand how the library intends to serve them over the course of this plan. And then lastly, and this is a new adjustment for this version of the plan, we have taken the objectives, the actions that we will take to support the aspirational goals in the plan, and we've placed them on an annual review process. So this is something that will be filed as an appendix in the long-term plan with the state library. And then every year we're going to review, adjust, and update to ensure that we are incorporating the most recent information and strategies as we seek to achieve these goals. So in front of you today for this resolution, what you're actually being asked to adopt are the mission, vision, values, the strategic priorities, the strategic goals, and the key performance indicators. And then from that, Gregory, the executive leadership team, staff will work to develop the objectives that will be filed with the state library, and we hope to have those delivered to you in the coming month for your review as well. Let's get to the exciting parts, the actual meat of the plan. So of course, our foundation is the mission and vision. And you'll see embedded in the mission and vision the theme of this plan, which is equitable access. So we reflected, and all of you were involved quite heavily in thinking about what was perhaps unspoken in our previous version of the mission, and what were the ways that we intended to advance the library in our new vision. And so what we landed at was that our mission was the Indianapolis Public Library enriches and supports communities by inspiring lifelong learning through stewardship and engaging service. And then our vision was to be a premier urban public library that delivers world-class service and champions equitable access to knowledge and resources for all. These two items were used to shape all the feedback that we received from the community, from staff, and from all of you to form the final version of this plan. And I think that you'll see the ideas in all of them reflected throughout the plan, but especially when we consider the values. So when we started this process, I had spoken with all of you about how our values were solid. They still resonated with staff, but we had some opportunities to consider some new ones. And from this new mission and vision, we were able to develop a theme of access from our values. So the values are access, communication, championing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, exceptional experiences, supporting intellectual freedom, and sustainable choices. Within the packet and the final version of the plan, you'll see that we turned each of these values into a we statement. One of the things that we found under the last plan is we felt like that idea of resonance, of our values resonating with staff, was something that was not being reflected when we surveyed staff about their experience and reflecting on the values. So we've developed what's sort of a mantra of how the library intends to incorporate these values into our work. And then there is a brief sentence that describes how these can be carried out in our daily work. We believe that these values reflect and will resonate with our staff, will be a way to incorporate our values as we onboard new staff, and I hope it'll be a solid touch point for all of you as you make decisions that influence the library's work. However, there is one area that required a little bit of a special attention. So we essentially overloaded the idea of championing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And we wanted to make sure that we were very intentional in this area and describing to the community and to our staff how we incorporate equity into our work. So we developed a strategic filter centered around diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Each of these terms has a question or two that asks staff and all of you to reflect on what the response to this question is as we make decisions in implementing this strategic plan. And an additional area that we chose to focus was to think about what does intersectionality mean? Because we recognize that as people interpret these questions, not everyone will have an understanding of the impact that can come if you have overlapping systems of discrimination, disadvantage, or inequities that are involved in your experience. So you'll see here a mock-up of a diagram that seeks to visually communicate what intersectionality can mean. This is by no means something that is inclusive of all the experiences or facets of people's identity, but sort of gives a inspiration to think about what this might mean as we work through these questions. This is not the final version of this diagram, but it is a good example of what we're hoping to inspire as people work through these questions and think about what it means to embrace the fullness of diversity and ensuring accessibility for all. So those are the foundations of the plan, but I can't dive into the rest of the plan without taking a moment to review everyone who was involved and incorporated, whose opinions were incorporated into this document. So we did have a community committee. You'll see their names displayed here, and you also have a written version in your packet if you'd like to review it there. Our community committee was co-chaired by Christina Aram Garza from the Immigrant Welcome Center, Ken Clark from Employ Indy, and then we had a variety of community members who represented a diverse range of experiences, everything from a teen who was a long-term volunteer for the library, a state senator, a member of Easter Seals Crossroad who we've worked with closely tackling accessibility within the library system, just a diverse range of experience and ideas and experiences. Dr. White represented the board on the community committee, and Gregory Hill and John Helling also both participated with this group. What the community committee did is that it looked at recommendations from the board and from the staff committee, information from the community committee, and they were really trying to help us shape the goals. How were we going to meet community need? Because they had experiences beyond what the library could offer to help inform that. So we broke them off into small groups. So Kim Ewers, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, and Mary Barr, our Chief Communication and Marketing Officer, were both instrumental in capturing and guiding conversations in these small groups to work the community committee through the decisions that they had to make. Now, the information that we presented to the community committee was heavily pulled from the community itself. So we engaged a community outreach process that impacted at least 1,180 community members. Those are the ones that we could prove were individuals. But we had a broader range of conversations and input from our staff engaging with patrons in conversation and passing their feedback to the executive leadership team, to comments on our program evaluations from the past few years. But what we intentionally did is we sent out a survey asking them to help us identify what the most urgent areas of need were in the community. And then we also ran focus groups, and those focus groups ran from general ones that were either in person or virtual, and targeted ones such as, I think the one that I found most memorable for me, the two that I found most memorable for me was we had one of our long-term Spanish language book clubs that they chose to take one of their sessions and convert it into a feedback session for the library, which was incredibly grateful for them taking the time to do that. And then also we had a wonderful community member who helped organize a group and translated for the group of Haitian immigrants who were new to the community. So a large range of ways that people could engage with that process and provide feedback. And then we also reviewed community data because we recognize that there are some groups that we struggle to gain traction with when we do this outreach in the community. And that has actually helped inform some pieces of the plan on the ways that we hope to improve inroads and communication with populations that currently are underrepresented in our feedback and in library services. So we reviewed community data from community health partners and their community access plans, from local economic groups who are evaluating small neighborhoods, the state digital and local digital equity plans, information from 211 about social services, a variety of sources, and we compiled some of the highlighted needs out of those for the community and staff committee to review as they thought about what our plan should choose to address. And our ultimate goal there was to ensure that the library was maximizing the things that we had strengths in. We're really leaning into those, but not duplicating effort or missing an opportunity where a partnership might improve the outcomes of the plan. So I've mentioned library staff. They were heavily involved in this process. Library staff were engaged at 3 points. One of them is still ongoing, where they were asked to reflect on the values that we currently hold, to participate in a SOAR, a Strength, Opportunities, Aspirations, and Results analysis to help inform our strategic priorities and goals. And then, again, the key objectives, the actions that we're going to take. We engaged around 58% of staff. Everyone was offered an opportunity to participate, but those were the ones who chose intentionally to engage in the process. 58% was the peak one, and that was for the values. We're not sure about objectives yet because that's still ongoing, but I think the number of teams engaged are probably going to be about that amount. Underpinning all of this was our staff committee. We had a large staff committee who were asked to meet usually about twice a month for 2 hours. They were devoting somewhere between 4 to 8 hours of their time during the peak period of the strategic plan process, and they were helping compile reports to be delivered to the committee. They were reflecting on the feedback from the Board of Trustees, from the community, from the executive leadership team, just trying to keep a hold of all the pieces of input that we were receiving and ensure that none of them were being lost as we moved through the process. So this group was incredibly valuable in crafting and drafting the current version of the plan that you all have in front of you, and ensuring that when items were received by the Board of Trustees committee, that we were presenting to you, a narrowed version that really allowed you to focus on the key decisions in developing this plan. All of that brings us to the plan, the exciting part. So as I've previously shared, our strategic priorities are learning, well-being, and belonging. Those were informed by that community engagement. So the staff reviewed those survey results, the focus group results, and from them they identified these pillars of community need that we were seeking to address. A fourth one, workplace of choice, was added by the executive leadership team because it was an idea that encapsulated all the commitments that we have made to our staff and the ways that we intend to continue to support them under the new strategic plan. So you'll notice that workplace of choice, the language that we use in there is often reflective of the ideas of learning, belonging, and well-being, because those are core priorities for us as we support our staff as well as the way we support the community. In the plan, you'll find that there's a paragraph that accompanies each of these that describes our intention around each of these priorities. They also are accompanied by a list of goals. So for example, learning, which is our longest one, has 7 goals focused around items such as reading and writing, learning languages spoken in the community, digital resiliency, which encapsulates both the idea of digital literacy, but also the concept of being prepared to embrace an evolving digital world. STEAM and the emerging needs of learners. So STEAM, of course, is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Supporting educators, which we defined in a broad sense. So this is not just supporting teachers, but also thinking about the growing number of home educators in our community and those who are working with adults as well. And thinking more broadly about how can we make the educator materials we have accessible to the widest range possible. But it also contains support for projects that are near and dear to our heart, such as the shared system and the impact that it has on so many schools. We also included small business and nonprofits. So for those of you who have been working on this closely, you'll remember when we started small business and nonprofits, we'd put them under well-being because I was making a case for those are areas of community well-being. And I listened and I learned and I reflected on the feedback that we received, and we recognized that the way the library provides support to small business and nonprofits is centered around providing learning resources and opportunities for education. So both of these have similar strategies, but for different audiences, where we provide materials, we provide programs for those who are seeking to start a nonprofit or a small business, but also information to make an informed decision on if starting a nonprofit or a small business is recommended, or if perhaps, especially for nonprofits, you might want to connect with another nonprofit that already exists to expand the impact in the community. Again, each of these has a paragraph in the plan that describes in more detail a little bit about what they do. One that I wanted to highlight with all of you was reading and writing. So when we talk about reading and writing, especially when we place it under the category of learning, it's easy to think that we're talking just about reading and writing literacy. But of course, core to the library is the idea that reading is fun, reading is something that you can do for an enjoyment, reading is a skill that can follow you your entire life, and that should take many formats, whether that's listening to an audiobook, reading a physical book, e-content, and then also being able to read in the language of your choice. So we don't care how you read, we just want you to read. And so you'll see that the framing around this focuses on that idea of curiosity and reading for enjoyment, and not just around the educational piece for it. Next, let's take a look at belonging. So when we were considering belonging, the staff committee spent a lot of time thinking about whether or not they wanted to recommend belonging as an option for a new value, or whether they wanted it to be a strategic priority, because they recognize that the library's commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility is directly tied to the concept of belonging. And ultimately, they decided to recommend that we include it as a priority, and I'm so glad that they did. This is my favorite section of the plan, because it offers ways for us to think about expanding the work that we do in a way that ensures that we are leveraging our community partnerships and having broader impact within the community. So the areas that we chose to focus on were connection. So this was both developing connection with the library and developing connection with those others in the community. So trying to address that concept of loneliness that we see increasing, especially in senior and adult populations, but also in teen populations. The idea of community space, so becoming a third place where individuals could come and use the services and the space that we offer, but also a community space for community gathering for our nonprofits and others within the community who love to use community rooms such as this. We also were intentional about wanting to engage more cardholders, because we are a firm believer that we can never have enough of them. So, well, I guess we can have enough once we hit peak saturation for our service area. But we really wanted to ensure that that intentionality was not lost in this plan. We also, based off of the community committee, combined together two concepts, civic literacy and world cultures. So the community committee was a strong advocate for ensuring that when we think about civic engagement and civic literacy, we didn't lose sight of the fact that that is amplified and built upon the variety of world cultures and immigrants to our community. So we chose to connect those two together and to be intentional about not just saying, here's a program on civic literacy, but also thinking about how can we expand that understanding of civic literacy so that we're engaging newcomers into our community and celebrating the variety of cultures that make up our community, whether they are new or have been here for a long period of time. We also have a related concept of diverse perspectives and experiences. So this is celebrating all the ways, all the many facets of intersectional identities that are beyond world cultures, because of course world cultures is captured by the previous one. So you will start to see that programming that we've previously offered under what was our racial equity goal in the previous strategic plan. Many of those are going to fall under this concept of diverse perspectives, but also emerging programs such as drag story time or other ways that we celebrate the LGBTQ community and other communities as well. Last, we have community legacy. So we have, under the last strategic plan, embraced the Digital Encyclopedia of Indianapolis. And we wanted to ensure that under this strategic plan, it wasn't just, hey, we're founding this, but they were given clear representation for their work in the strategic plan, because we understand the value and the impact that it has. And two projects that work alongside that are Digital Indie, which is a project that pre-existed that. That is our digital archive for the community. And then, of course, the Indianapolis Special Collections Room at Central Library. So those three projects together are really focused on ensuring that we not only are capturing the known histories in Indianapolis, but that we're also finding histories that are currently undocumented so that everyone in our community feels like they have a place where their legacy is celebrated. Then we have well-being. Well-being is a short but incredibly valuable and in-demand portion of the plan. So we focused well-being on the 3 areas that were identified by the community, which was essentially a request for more support to connect with social services, tackling the challenges of finding reliable information and access to mental and physical well-being resources, as well as socioeconomic well-being, which captures both the concept of financial literacy, but also job seekers, those seeking to acquire new skills for a new career. So those 3 areas are parts of the plan where we rely incredibly heavily on partnerships. We do have, as you heard at the last Board of Trustees meeting, a small social work department, but their impact is amplified by their engagement with community partners. So you'll see that a lot of the work in this area is thinking about what did we learn under the last strategic plan? How can we take that information and make it as accessible as possible to the staff members in our branches so that every person who visits our branch is able to find the information quickly and that they can trust that it's reliable, and that where possible we are taking specialized requests and connecting them with those who have specialized skills, such as social workers or individuals who might be working with career seekers. Our final category is workplace of choice. There are only 2 goals underneath here. When the executive leadership team was thinking about how we wanted to see the staff experience reflected in the strategic plan, we came up with a huge list because we have so many things. We're so excited to find new ways of supporting our staff, but we kept coming back to all of these are related to the concept of being a workplace where you choose to come to work because you understand that you are valued, you understand that your contributions are respected, that you and your experiences are respected, and that there is a sense of belonging that you feel in your staff experience. So that's what you'll see the very first goal is related to. And it describes in more detail in that paragraph some of the specific strategies we use, such as developing and retaining staff, thinking about being a workplace of choice, also encompassing the concept of volunteers. But we wanted to make sure that we didn't lose sight of the diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility plan, which is a previous commitment that we made to staff around our DEIA initiatives. So what we did is we embedded under that second goal a commitment to supporting that plan in the strategic plan so that we can ensure that we're continuing to prioritize and invest the resources to ensure that that plan is successful as well. Now, I can't, as a assessment officer, not talk about the strategic plan without at least highlighting a little bit of information about the ways that we intend to measure. So, of course, the objectives that we're developing, those actions we're going to take, we're following a SMARTY framework. And so those will have measurability, things like that embedded in them. But we wanted to make sure that as we took a broad range of actions around the strategic plan, that we had key performance indicators that we could monitor to say, collectively, are all the actions that we're taking having the impact that we hope to have in the community. So you'll see in the plan, the key performance indicators ties to our priorities, our values, and each goal some way that we are measuring for impact. So here I've highlighted the ones related to the strategic priorities. So for example, in learning, you'll see that the concept of a patron who actively uses the library, how often are they finding materials, either physical or electronic, that are meeting their needs, including things such as e-research usage, such as our databases, and our on-demand learning platforms, such as LinkedIn Learning or Consumer Reports. Just thinking about, are we providing the resources that encourage people to read for pleasure and to engage in learning? But also, of course, people love our programs. So we wanted to ensure that we were not just thinking about, are we offering programs that people want to attend, but are we ensuring that they are having a positive experience and an impact from those? So we are looking at the evaluations for the programs that are related to learning and monitoring that as a KPI. You'll see similar references to programming around well-being and belonging. When we have these large priorities, our staff get very excited and come up with some really cool ideas. And those are captured as programs every year as part of our community action plan process. And so we will be monitoring the impact of those through reviewing those evaluations. You'll also see, for example, I mentioned in well-being that partnerships were crucial. So we were ensure that well-being partnership survey was embedded as a way that we would be monitoring the impact of that area of the plan, because without those partnerships, we would have limited impact. It's really about connecting people to the most appropriate resource. And belonging, of course, if we foster a sense of belonging, there are two things that we can count on. When you walk into a library branch, you feel that, you have that experience, and you are going to want to return and have that experience again. Similarly, if you visit our website, if you can find that you were considered and that your needs were met. But also we chose to connect active cardholder percentages to this. So this is thinking about the number of active cardholders for each branch and collectively as a system. So not just do you have a card, but are you using that card? If we are considering your needs, if we are thinking about your experiences, you will find something in our collections that will make you want to borrow an item. So that's going to be another key area. I also pulled out the ones related to our values, because this concept of access, we are very excited about it. We are looking at things like cardholders per capita, setting an annual communication goal to respect the way that communication and the needs for it evolve each year. Looking at our collection diversity when we think about championing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. The new Tell Us survey to measure whether or not we are truly delivering exceptional experiences. Intellectual freedom, so setting an annual goal. This is a new value for us, but it's not a new value. Like, intellectual freedom is a part of what libraries support, but setting an annual engagement goal so that we can make sure we're sharing with the community why this is an important topic and how they can support it within the community. And then sustainable choices. So when we talk about sustainable choices, we don't just mean environmental sustainability. But the area that we identified that the library was going to have a lot of opportunities for engagement and growth was around environmental sustainability. So we did select energy use intensity, which I did not ask Adam to redefine that for me again, so I hope you don't ask me any questions on that, but Adam is able to clearly explain that. But we wanted to make sure that that new piece of sustainability was reflected in this KPI. But of course, sustainable choices is also about sustaining the library so that it's available for future generations and for long-term use. So the idea of stewardship as well. Okay, I have also developed KPIs for the goals, but I thought that maybe going through 20 KPIs might get a little overwhelming, so they're in your packet. I do just want to again emphasize that those goals will be followed up with by key objectives and community action plans. So the two ways that we will be communicating with the board about how we are turning this plan into a living, breathing impact on the community. So community action plans are, of course, are the ways that staff propose programs on an annual basis. So those are short-term plans usually. And the key objectives will be for identifying large system-wide initiatives that we expect to have impact. So sometimes that includes the plan for offering community action plans, but also can contain things such as, you know, if we know that we want to form a new committee, if we recognize that there's an opportunity to engage a new partner, those are the things that you'll see appear in those key objectives. It's really thinking about the big system-wide impact that might take multiple years to grow. And then in the community action plans, you'll see the smaller branch specialized, probably can complete it in a year or less ideas. So that brings us to the resolution. So I'll hand this back over to President Tribble.
Thank you, Mackenzie. So we have Resolution 94 regarding the adoption of a long-range plan for the period 2025 to 2027. And this resolution received a positive recommendation from the Strategic Planning Committee. So the chair would request a second to such recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and and seconded. Is there any discussion? Well, I'm going to start. I know that it is late, but when we met in our committee, and first I want to thank Dr. Palacio for chairing the board committee. I asked that Mackenzie not make an abbreviated presentation. I asked her to walk us through this because this is big stuff, right? This is an undertaking where we, as a collective, as the stakeholders, have stopped to take a look in the mirror, to reflect, and we've revised our mission, we've revised our vision, and we have redefined our values. And so it sets a new stage for the work of the organization and for moving us to the next excellent place that we're going to go. So I think I thought it was really important to celebrate that and to fully express it. And so that's why it was a significant presentation. I also want to say thank you to Mackenzie, because she started in this place and she's finished, but we did a lot of introspection and we did some course changes, and you just knocked it out of the park beautifully in terms of directing us and getting us back moving toward the end goal. So those are my initial comments. Dr. Palacio, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Yes, thanks. I don't have any questions, but I want to second your remarks, and congratulations, Mackenzie, on driving all this process. And it was an honor to serve in this capacity and work with Mackenzie and the team, getting all the voices. I know that was not easy.
Yeah.
I remember those days. But yeah, it's a long journey that now we can celebrate. And we didn't bring the fireworks. It's raining, but we thought about it at least. So in your mind, you can picture them.
I think we said we would have the fireworks next month.
All right.
When the objectives are out.
We did bring a token of celebration with us, which is we have pens that outline the theme of access for each of you, because we recognize that these will be values that will be driving the decisions that you make in the coming 3 years.
Awesome. And
Just a point of personal privilege. Mackenzie, your will, your effort, your determination, and your dogged pursuit of an outstanding kind of plan was so impressive. And regardless of what was thrown at you, what items you had to reflect on, what definitions you needed Adam to help you define, you stood through it. So I think you did an outstanding job of stewarding this process, and I just want to commend you for the tremendous work you've done in this project.
Thank you.
Dr. Riola.
Many people were involved here, and not to ignore the impact that everyone had, but for you to bring all of this together, it really was a major undertaking, and the outcome is outstanding. So thank you very, very much.
And I just want to say, too, you did an exceptional job. So thank you so much. Again, as Dr. Viola said, there was a lot of people involved. Again, thank you to our executive leadership team. Thank you to all the staff who participated. Thank you to all the community members. I'm excited to get this implemented and move forward. So thank you again so much.
Is there any other discussion? Congratulations. Having heard discussion, and comments. We will now take the roll on Resolution 94, resolution to adopt a long-range plan for the period 2025 to 2027.
Dr. Palacio,
Approved.
Dr. Payne,
Approved.
Dr. Riolo,
Approved.
Dr. White,
Approved.
and Ms. Tribble.
Approved. The motion carries unanimously. Let's give another. This is awesome.
I just want to take one moment to thank all of you for engaging so seriously and thoughtfully in this process. You received a lot of information from the various committees, and we're willing to take their advice seriously, but also to recognize when there are moments for redirection and reconsideration, and I really appreciate that experience with all of you.
We want to thank our entire stakeholder community, and I think once we roll out those objectives, maybe in January, that'll be the time to let them know too how much we've appreciated and how much they have engaged and created a wonderful thing, access. So thank you again. Great. Great. We'll move on. Future agenda items is the time when we receive suggestions from our board members about the future agenda. Are there any suggestions for the January 2025 board meeting? Okay, we'll move on. The notice of the next meeting is January 27th. The next regular meeting will be held Monday, January 27th, 2025, at the Warren Branch Library, 9701 East 21st Street at 6:30 p.m. And if you will pardon me, I would like now to take a moment of a point of personal privilege. Tonight's my last meeting as trustee of the Indianapolis Public Library and as president of this board. As such, I would like to take a moment to reflect on this wonderful experience and, more importantly, the evolution of the library in the 42 months I have had the privilege to serve on the board. My experience during this time has certainly provided examples of learning and evolution for the library, for the board, and personally. My first meeting was May 2022, a time that marked major transitions for the board, and since then I've had the opportunity to establish and build new relationships and connections in the community. 2 months after I started, I was appointed and honored to serve as the chair of Diversity Policy and Human Relations, the DPR committee. So shortly after that, the committee led the undertaking of an independent and comprehensive climate study of the organization. The study provided insights and recommendations for improving the climate for the benefit of the board. It also identified key recommendations for improving our board governance, including policy, practices, and operations. In response, the board took training to improve our understanding of the state board guidelines for library governance. I want to thank my fellow board members for all the ways you've contributed to our evolving and learning. It has not always been easy, but our organization and the library visitors we serve are better for it. Following the results of the climate study, we undertook the CEO search process. It was a long and tedious process, spanning just about a year, and boy, did we learn. In the end, though, I'm happy to say and confidently assert that we, NDPL, won, and in the most unforeseen way with the appointment of Greg Hill as CEO. For me, one bright highlight of the past few years has been the leadership of Gregory Hill as CEO. I count his time as CEO as a solid success. He has brought his librarianship, his knowledge, and experience from working at every level in this organization at a time that we needed calm, seasoned, and disciplined leadership. He has reconstructed and reoriented the executive team, undertaken to complete the recommendations of the first climate study, and overseen a second, which showed marked improvements in the climate, trust in library leadership, and provided a new set of goals for becoming a better NDPL. And he has done it with an honorable and courageous grace and perseverance. Thank you, Greg, for answering the call to service and leadership, probably beyond what you'd imagined in this your second career. It's been a pleasure and honor to serve with you, and I appreciate the stability and direction you have provided and provide. My primary reflection as I think about service on this board is one of gratitude, and there are many people in this experience that I am grateful for. I want to take just a few more moments to acknowledge them and to express my gratitude for their work, camaraderie, support, and constructive challenge. First, I'm thankful for the City County Council of Indianapolis and Marion County for appointing me to the board, and particularly to Councilors John Barth, Dan Boots, Jared Evans, and Maggie Lewis, who showed unwavering confidence and support throughout my time on the board. I'm thankful to Anita Harden, who stepped up into the gap to provide support and executive presence for the library executive leadership team during a very transitional time. I am thankful to the countless members of the public and community who whispered, wrote, or called with words of support, advice, and encouragement to persevere, and to my family, partner, and friends for the same. There is this group of about 500 people who keep the branches humming through awesome customer service, innovation, and needed programming for the communities we serve. That would be our NDPL employees. And I know our community experiences the joy and fruits of your dedication, your expertise in library service, and your willingness to create an environment of learning and access to information that is free, all while respecting privacy. We do not take your service for granted, and it is so important. So thank you. And I'd have to say that the team who works directly with the board in getting these meetings done, including sharing information, setting the agendas, researching and presenting background information that informs our board meetings and decisions, I have to say thanks to them. Tisha Galarce, who's with her team supports DPHR, Adam Parsons and his team who support the Facilities Committee, Lolita Campbell and Mary Rankin, who work so hard with the Finance Committee. Marianne McKenzie has been awesome liaison with the Strategic Planning Committee, as we just saw and recognized. Mary Barr helps keep me organized and on message, and she and her team have led branding and standardizing the presentations that are used to help the public and our board keep track of all the information that's presented during these meetings. Angie Gilbert is the executive assistant to the CEO and the board. She does so much to keep us organized, structures our meetings, ensures that we meet public notice requirements, and coordinates with our attorneys and committee liaisons to create these board packets that are now available electronically. This is very exciting. We couldn't do it without you. To the area resource managers, branch managers, and teams in the branches where we have met, thank you for welcoming us. Thank you, branch managers, for your reports and insights. We spent a couple of years having meetings only at the Library Service Center, so it has been awesome to get back into the branches. Thank you to our executive leadership team, led by our CEO, which includes John Helling, Deb Lambert, Mary Barr, Shanika Hayward, Roberta Jackers, Kim Ewers, Tisha Galarce, Lolita Campbell, Marianne McKenzie, and Adam Parsons. And where would we be without our legal team? That's a serious question. Thank you for your wisdom and for keeping us on track, legal and in line with the state requirements and practical guidance on board procedure. And finally, I want to take time to recognize the other people who have sat at this table with me during my time on the board. You have all given a generous amount of your time, talent, and treasure to this library board, and the attention and the institution and the people that it serves. There's no doubt that I have learned a lot from each one of you. I want to Ray Biederman for serving in multiple roles, including chair of DPHR, his work on the foundation board, and Ray for providing levity for and for his partnership in getting things done. Thank you, Patricia Payne, for serving as board secretary and chair of finance committee, and for championing diversity, equity, and inclusion for all our board members. Thank you, Colin Murtada, for lending your observations as a member of the facilities committee. Thank you, Eugene White, my fellow city county council appointee, for your service as chair of the facilities committee and your leadership. Dr. White, you passed out this book tonight, so I'm going to say my comment that you demonstrated to me one of the most profound lessons of leadership that is a prominent memory for me, and it consists of 4 words: I changed my mind. And it was a profound lesson about learning and evolution that all of us can learn from you, so thank you. Luis Palacio, thank you for coming in and integrating yourself quickly and deeply, and for leading the strategic planning committee. And Lisa Riolo, you are our newest board member, but no stranger to the library. You have brought with you an understanding of the inner workings of the day-to-day operations and perspectives from employees, and you stepped in to contribute as a member of the Facilities Committee and the Strategic Planning Committee. And I have appreciated the opportunity to get to know you. I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to contribute, to learn, and to evolve as a part of this organization. And as always, I thank you for your kind attention to my remarks, not only at the end of my tenure, but at the end of a wonderful year, 2024. So there being no more business on tonight's agenda, I now pronounce this meeting adjourned. Thank you.